Good evening to everyone. Welcome to Gana Shot once again. Sat Sri Akal and Vanakkam. Right, we'll continue with what we left off with yesterday. Uh, we'll do the military aspects today. Yesterday, I concentrated more on the geopolitical aspects, the political issues, and where the question which I posed to everyone is: have we read China wrong all this while? Okay, so we'll see. Uh, Given the circumstances that we have probably read China not too well, how did we handle them militarily, right? And what are the equations between what we did with them, what was our reaction to their actions in 1962 and 2020? Okay, I'd like to remind all the army officers who are seeing this and who are appearing for staff college. Go through these videos. This is the playlist. Under this playlist, there are about 20 videos which will help you in your science and Miltech paper. A word of free advice, passing on getting through to staff college means that you have to clear 6 papers, right? And every paper has that one or two questions which makes the difference. And that question is not in your syllabus, right? And for that, you need a broader based knowledge, broader based understanding of items, and broader based thinking. And that's what I'm trying to do. Okay. Now, uh, today's episode and today's rather talk on the military part of it is largely based on my experience. If you see the arrows, I have served in all these places in various capacities, right from the Karakoram Pass to Kibitu. So I'm pretty clear about the ground factor. And I must also tell you, मैं ये भी बताना चाहता हूँ सबको कि जो जमीनी you know the ground factor, right, is the most important thing in any pop of war or any appreciation. Even in your TACB, the major issue which you have to take care of is the ground factor. If you get your ground right, everything else falls in place. So I start with that premise that my knowledge of the ground is pretty good. I have the confidence having been to all these places. Okay, but then how am I, basing all my ideas, everything? Let me put a few issues. Like I said, these are based on personal experience of having served along the entire LAC. My unit was part of the Sela Brigade, the unit which I got commissioned and which I commanded, 5 Field Regiment, artillery. We were part of the Sela Brigade. One battery of us had gone ahead to Tagla or wherever. It never returned. In the artillery, we've had the highest casualties of any unit. And like all other units in NEFA, we suffered. A lot of our men were taken prisoners and went to China. And when I joined the unit, there are a lot of those guys who were our Havaldars and, senior NCOs and all that. I used to talk to them quite a bit on their experience of the 62 campaign and their experience in China. Right, but that I'll keep aside because their view was something different. But having gone through a lot of things, uh, right, I have physically walked over most part of the 1962 off, especially in NEFA, right, in Arunachal Pradesh, basically. And I've been to most battle areas because in 91, 92, a unit was posted there and we wanted to recreate our own history. We recreated our own history. और हमने न्यूकमा टॉन्ग में वहाँ एक वॉर मेमोरियल था जो बनाया है आजकल वहाँ 4 कोर का मेमोरियल है राइट इसके अलावा मैं एक दो चीज बताना चाहता हूँ मेन हमारे जो ऑफिसर्स और जवान उन्होंने बहुत अच्छी तरीके से 62 में लड़ा कहाँ चुशुल में लद्दाख में और वलोंग एरिया में इनफैक्ट इन वलोंग उन्होंने काउंटर अटैक भी किया था। बात अलग है कि ये सक्सीड इसीलिए नहीं हुए क्योंकि इनके पास हथियार कम थे और प्लानिंग कम था और वगैरह वगैरह। सिर्फ नेफा में ये लड़ नहीं पाए क्योंकि एक अफवाह फैल गया था, साइकोलॉजिकली दे वर डिफीटेड, राइट। उसके विपरीत 2020 में whatever we did something great. ये पहली बार हिस्ट्री में we made the Chinese backtrack after the Korean War, right? We made them backtrack 9 किलोमीटर, 9 किलोमीटर वो पीछे गए, वो अपना डिफेंसेस जो बनाया था उसको तोड़ के वो वापस उनको जाना पड़ा। आज के दिन इंडियन आर्मी जो है, इट इज अ फार मोर कॉन्फिडेंट आर्मी, आत्मविश्वास बहुत है और इट इज अ स्ट्रॉन्गर आर्मी vis-a-vis पीएलए। आई एम वेरी कॉन्फिडेंट ऑफ दैट। और खास करके डोकलम इंसिडेंट से लेकर अगर आप बाद में देखोगे तो वी हैव डन वेल अगेंस्ट यू नो द पीएलए एंड दिस हैज बीन एक्नॉलेज्ड बाय मेनी पीपल। ओके, अभी हम देखते हैं 62 ऑप्स के बारे में। ये जो मैप है इसमें अगर आप देखोगे तो ग्रे एरोस लगे हुए हैं और ये ग्रे एरोस वेयर द प्लेसेस वेयर the Chinese attacked us in 1962, largely in eastern Ladakh, starting from Delchok right up to Dipsang, and in the east, right, starting from Arunachal, going right up to Kibitu. Kibitu is the last point on the right, that is of a long axis. Of course, Rima, Longju, all these are part of it. Right. इसके अगेंस्ट अगर आप 2020 में देखोगे तो जितना जो भी उन्होंने 62 में किया था, ईस्टर्न लद्दाख में दोबारा उन्होंने किया, उसी इलाके में देपसांग, कोंकाला, हॉट स्प्रिंग्स, पानगांग, चुशुल, मोल्डो, वही वो चुशुल हाइट्स नहीं गए पर मोल्डो तो आए थे, गेमचौक, उसी इलाके में इन्होंने इंकर्शन किया। और पर अरुणाचल में एक घुसे नहीं, राइट। और इन्होंने एक नया फ्रंट खोला 2020 में सिक्किम में, और इसके बारे में आगे मैं बात करूंगा क्योंकि इसका एक वैल्यू है, राइट। क्यों है हम देखेंगे। ओके, सबसे पहले ये सवाल आता है हमारे पास कि हैज इंडिया रेड चाइना वेल। आप देखेंगे सितंबर 1959 से लेकर सितंबर 62 तक, नॉट सितंबर 59, समवेयर 59 टू 62, 3 साल तकरीबन 5-6 क्लैश हुए थे चाइना के साथ उन दिनों में। In each of them we suffered more casualties and even had some of our policemen and soldiers taken as prisoners. लॉन्गजू में पुलिसमैन का पुलिस पोस्ट था, उनको हड़प लिया और प्रिजनर्स ले गए। इसके बावजूद हम जब चौवनला आया था इधर 61 में, हमने हिंदी चीनी बाई बाई का उसके साथ बातचीत किया, दोस्ती बना के रखने का प्रयत्न किया। ये तो बड़ा अजीब बात। अच्छा, सिमिलरली ये दिस इज समथिंग वेरी यू नो वियर्ड, आई वुड से ईरी। 2012 से लेकर 2020 तक बहुत इंट्रूशंस हुए पीएलए के। देपसांग में हुआ था अप्रैल 13, डेमचौक और चुमर में हुए थे सितंबर 14। वो जब जी जिनपिंग मोदी जी के साथ बैठ के झूला परेड कर रहे थे, झूले पे बैठे हुए थे अहमदाबाद साबरमती रिवर के बगल में। बुटसे में हुआ था सितंबर 15 में, और डोकलम और पैंगोंगसो में हुआ था सितंबर 2017 में। डोकलम को तो सब पता है, और ऑफ कोर्स आखिर 2020 में पैंगोंग त्सो में जो हुआ था, पैंगोंग त्सो गलवान, देपसांग में अभी भी बैठे हैं, हम सबको पता है। इसके बावजूद we were on hoping to talk and make mend or fences with them. झूले में बैठ के हमारे प्रधानमंत्री उनके साथ झूल रहे थे। हम ये सोच रहे थे कि उनके कुछ प्रॉब्लम होगा, अंदरूनी प्रॉब्लम होगा, क्योंकि जी जिनपिंग नए नए उन दिनों में टेक ओवर किया था। उनका हमारा सोच यह था कि वो अभी तक पीएलए कंट्रोल में नहीं है, पर हमने उनको अच्छा परखा नहीं, क्योंकि जी जिनपिंग के इशारे और उनके हुक्म के मुताबिक ही ये सब हो रहा था। हम उनसे वुहान में जाके मिले, महाबलीपुरम में जाके मिले, सब कुछ समिट वगैरह हुआ, इसके बावजूद ये सब कुछ हो गया। राइट। अगर आप देखोगे 59 टू 62 हमारे पास एक फॉरवर्ड पोस्चर था। उन्होंने जब इंट्रूड किया था, हमने फॉरवर्ड पोस्चर इख्तियार किया था, और उसका बैकअप प्लान नहीं था। पर अब की बार 2020 में हमारे पास कोई काउंटर स्ट्रेटजी नहीं था, इतने इंट्रूजन होने के बावजूद, कि हम सिर्फ बैठे रहे। ये क्या, ये एक मिलिट्री डिफिशिएंसी है, या एक पॉलिटिकल डिफिशिएंसी है, या पॉलिटिको मिलिट्री डिफिशिएंसी है, या लीडरशिप की डिफिशिएंसी है? ये सवाल खड़ा होता है। और मेरा मानना यह है कि इवन इन 2020, if we had gone across in some places the pro quid quo, we would have achieved hell of a lot. हमारा response against all Chinese build-up has been supine. ये कल भी मैंने बताया था, आज भी बता रहा हूं। अगर आप किले के अंदर बैठोगे तो एक दिन किले का दीवार टूट जाएगा। You have to defend your fort from outside the fort. And ये सीख हमें नोडल पॉइंट बैटल्स में मिलता है कि यू हैव टू डिफेंड योर नोड फ्रॉम आउटसाइड द नोड। यू हैव टू डोमिनेट द गैप्स इन नोडल पॉइंट डिफेंस, right? And yet we have only been waiting for China to intrude. Why didn't we do anything else? Why didn't we have a pro quid quo? A major question ever. Now let's look at the military planning. Okay, the planning part of the story. Right? We are all taught in war, we cannot rely on the likelihood of enemy not coming. क्या वो नहीं आएगा हम सोच नहीं सकते। हमें तैयार होना चाहिए वर्स्ट केस ऑप्शन के लिए। अगर वो आएगा तो हम क्या करें, हमारा कॉन्टिजेंसी क्या होगा कि वो जरूर आएगा, और आएगा तो कैसे आएगा, ये अनुमान लगाना हमारा काम है। हम ये नहीं सोच सकते कि वो हमें अटैक नहीं करेगा। हमारा डिफेंसेस ये होना चाहिए कि वो अटैक करे तो हम ये करेंगे। ये नहीं सोच हो सकता कि हमारे डिफेंसेस में वो अटैक नहीं करेगा। Right. No thought was ever given to the prospect that China could launch a short, calibrated, punitive strike in either in 1962 or in 2020. हमने ये सोचा ही नहीं। I have seen a video of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru saying that China can't attack us. They can't come in big strength. For many reasons, he gave reasons. And that permeated down the line to the military leadership. That's a recorded fact. And if you read the Himalayan Plunder and other books, this fact comes out. Okay. पर 2020 में भी ये हमारा सोच था कि भाई ये he cannot launch a shot, or a calibrated strike. हम सब मिलिट्री ऑफिसर्स, मिलिट्री वॉर गेम्स चलते थे बेस्ड ऑन अ हाई लेवल थ्रेट, कि वो 30 डिवीजन लेके आएगा। डिबेट ये था कि ये 2 सीजन में करेगा या 1 सीजन में करेगा। 2017 में मैंने एक आर्टिकल लिखा था, ये मैं आपको दिखा रहा हूं, राइट? आर वी रेडी अक्रॉस द हिमालयाज, उसमें मैंने बोला था कि भाई चाइना ऐसे नहीं करेगा, वो छोटा छोटा अटैक करेगा। उस वक्त हमें हमारा क्या रवैया होना चाहिए? शुड वी कंटेन दैट इंट्रूशन, शुड वी evict दैट इंट्रूशन, और डू अ काउंटर इंट्रूशन? ये तीन पॉसिबिलिटीज हैं, और ये तीनों में हम सिर्फ ये कंटेनमेंट भी सही नहीं कर पाए। खैर, अल्टीमेटली वी डिड, वी evicted them in a indirect manner. Now, strategic surprise was achieved by China. We had no preemptive response or a counter LAC plan. When we had a counter LAC plan in 1962, we could not sustain it. उसका बैकअप नहीं था। कोई भी प्लान उतना ही अच्छा होता है जितना आप उसको अमल कर सकते हो। अगर आप आगे जाके बैठ जाओगे बेवकूफ की तरह, आपको पीछे कोई काट देगा। वही हुआ डोला डोला पोस्ट के ऊपर और तागला रिज के ऊपर, राइट? और जैसे गलवान में जो पोस्ट था जाट्स का, वो एक आइसोलेटेड पोस्ट हो गया, राइट? 2020 में हमने कुछ नहीं किया सिवाय उनको रोकने के लिए, जब तक हमने कैलाश रेंज का एक्शन किया था। और वो जो जब हमने किया, बहुत निर्णायक था। अगर आप देखोगे कि इससे पहले क्या था, लैक ऑफ स्ट्रेटेजिक कॉन्फिडेंस। फ्रॉम 62 टू 2020, इंडिया लैक स्ट्रेटेजिक कॉन्फिडेंस। हमने ये भी नहीं सोचा कि 67 में उनको वी गेव देम अ सॉलिड पंच इन सिक्किम। ये हम भूल गए। खास करके ये एक्चुअली जो स्ट्रेटेजिक कॉन्फिडेंस हमारा जो उल्टा हुआ, वो डोकलम से शुरू हुआ है। डोकलम में हमें पता चला कि हम कुछ कर सकते हैं। अच्छी बात है, कभी तो आना चाहिए स्ट्रेटेजिक कॉन्फिडेंस, राइट? एक और बात है मिलिट्री प्लानिंग का। जब डोकलम का में हमने उनको रोक लगा दिया और उनको आगे जाने नहीं दिया, तो हमें पता होना चाहिए था कि ये कुछ करेंगे और वो मौका उड़ाएंगे, निकालेंगे। और जब ये कोविड आया था, अमेरिका का ट्रूप्स वेर आल्सो अंडर कोविड, एंड अमेरिका खुद जूझ रहा था कोविड के लिए साथ। ये एक मौका था। हम सब बोलते हैं सरप्राइज इज टू बी अचीव व्हेन द वेदर इज बैड, अदर एनवायरमेंट्स आर बैड। उन्होंने ये कोविड का यूज्ड कोविड, द facade of covid, to carry out an exercise and come into 2020. We didn't read them. एक और बात है, जो डिवीजन वाज लुकिंग आफ्टर ईस्टर्न लद्दाख, इट हैड अ फ्रंटेज ऑफ 800 किलोमीटर्स। ये रीइंफोर्समेंट वगैरह के बाद हमने आज की स्थिति अलग है, पर उस वक्त की बात कर रहा हूं। डिड इट हैव एडिक्वेट मैन पावर, सर्विलेंस मीन्स एंड reserves to deal with the intrusion? It did not have, obviously. Why it did not have? Because we never expected it. हमने सोच लिया कि ये होगा नहीं। और वही कहानी है 62 में हुआ, वही कहानी 2020 में हुआ। डेप्सांग का जो क्रिटिकलिटी है, जो मैंने कल आपको बताया थे रोड के बारे में, क्यों इंपॉर्टेंट है रोड वगैरह वगैरह वगैरह, क्या ये नोबल, इज इट रॉकेट साइंस की आज हमें पता चल रहा है? ये तो सबको पता था पहले से ही। हमने क्यों इसको डिफेंड नहीं किया? और खास करके हमने एक रोड बनाया था उसके बाद, जो मैंने बताया आपको कल, जब दरबुक शॉक डीपीओ रोड बन गया, जब हमारा पहुंच देपसांग तक आ गया, और देपसांग उनका जब वल्नरेबिलिटी है, ये तो नॉर्मल ही था कि वो कुछ आके करेंगे। हालांकि हमने डिप्लॉय किया कुछ, इसमें कोई दो राय नहीं है, पर हमने उतना अच्छा नहीं डिप्लॉय किया कि वी कैन फोरस्टॉल देयर थिंग. देखिए, अगर मेरा, if you see all my writings, I have defended the Indian Army for whatever it has done. I have written for the Indian Army because we did something tremendous in kicking out, the Kailash Range operation and sending PLA back. Within 2 years, except Depsang and Demchok, they're back everywhere at starting blocks. No other army has been able to achieve this with PLA and China. But my problem is this should not have happened. If your planning was good, it should not have happened. So, if you see the planning in 1962 और आप अब का प्लानिंग आप दोनों को परखोगे तो बराबर है. It is almost the same, right? Good thing that we could reverse the whole thing. And 1962 we could not, reverse the whole thing. But now you could do ulta. You could, turn the tables on them. Okay. Now let's look at this map again. Right? Why Depsang is important? I keep getting back to Depsang because Depsang is going to be the future criticality. आप देख लीजिए Aksai Chan connects Tibet and Xinjiang. Right? And अगर आप Aksai Chan के बगल में देखोगे एक डॉट है, वो that corridor which they have given to China, illegally ceded that corridor, Wakhan corridor. Right? So this is important. अगर यही चीज अगर आप देखोगे तो अगर आप देखोगे ऊपर, the top half is SSN. You see Depsang. Depsang again is critical. The criticality of Depsang I'm repeating again and again. South of Depsang, you see the Changchenmo range. You cannot take major forces through that. The moment you built this road, right, and you see that red road is that G219, which they were building in 1962. In 1962, we had no way to reach it, but today you have. आप देखिए, ये तो बहुत important चीज है. ओके, और आपने एक रोड बनाया था इसके बीच में. The moment you put a red line in the next slide, it is not coming. That for some reason ये transfer नहीं हो रहा from PowerPoint to in this. The whole Depsang thing changes, and we have not done the planning for that. Okay, if you see this, see where Demchok is. Right. Again, that line which I put, the Western Highway, Express Highway has not come, and that is the G219 has not come. अगर आप इसमें देखोगे, ये बॉर्डर है, इंटरनेशनल बॉर्डर, और डेमचौक देखिए, डेमचौक के राइट में जो येलो लाइन है, दैट इज द वेस्टर्न एक्सप्रेस हाईवे और द G219. द G219 इज द क्लोजेस्ट एट डेमचौक. अगर आपको G219 को कट करना है या वेस्टर्न एक्सप्रेस हाईवे को कट करना है, तो योर ऑफेंसिव हैज टू गो थ्रू डेमचौक. So Depsang and Demchok were the two most critical points, or anyone who's been wherever would have told any negotiation with the Chinese. We would have always told that these 2 points are the most critical for the Chinese. And that is what they are holding on to even today. In all negotiations on the LAC, I am given to understand after quite extensive interaction with a lot of people that they were prepared to accept most other places except Depsang and Demchok. They were worried because that is their vulnerability. Despite knowing this, We didn't react. Okay, the next part, which is the military part of the whole story. We have always underestimated the military repercussions of our own actions. When we undertook the forward posture, हमने ये नहीं परखा कि उनके ऊपर क्या असर होगा और वो कैसे रिएक्ट करेंगे. जब डीएसबीबीओ रोड बनाया हमने और आर्टिकल 370 को हमने स्क्रैप किया था, उस वक्त हमने ये नहीं सोचा कि हम कैसे रिएक्ट करेंगे. हमारा मिलिट्री वॉर गेमिंग ऑफ द सिचुएशन दोनों टाइम में नहीं हुआ. उस वक्त हमने पडिक्कर जी जो को भेजा था, who was at that time I think the high commissioner to China, to explain to Mao कि भाई हम ये this doesn't mean much, we should be still friends and all that. And अब के बार हमने हमारा एक्सटर्नल अफेयर्स मिनिस्टर श्री जयशंकर को भेजा. हमने ये नहीं सोचा, ठीक है हमने ये we did this diplomatically, but did we go through the military repercussions of what we did diplomatically and politically? We did not both times. If we had done that, and if we had extrapolated what they did then, and what were the indications which were being given to us ever since Xi Jinping took over, right? You would have reacted differently in 2020. As this DBO road was coming up, your preparation should have been different. Your game plan should have been different. Okay? Let's look at the higher direction of war and jointness. Lack of jointness was palpable in 1962. ये तो सबने लिखा है. The Indian Air Force was not even consulted. हमें ये नहीं पता था कि PLAF का कैपेबिलिटीज क्या है उन दिनों में और उनका वल्नरेबिलिटी क्या है. हमने एक we did not even make a assessment. अब की बार हमने ये सब किया है, इसमें दो राय नहीं है. In fact, we did it very well. We were very clear that we have a clear advantage of the Air Force over them. But we had more tools at our disposal at this point of time. Again, in Eastern Ladakh. Did we factor in the Indian Ocean issue? Did the IAF and the IN, were they brought into play to at least send a message about Malacca Strait? Did we do anything in the Andaman Nicobar to give a message कि भाई अगर आप वहां से पीछे नहीं हटोगे तो हम कुछ और करेंगे? हमने we did something fantastic. इसमें कोई दो राय नहीं है. We canceled their contracts. Their imports we put. There were a lot of economic strikes. We canceled their apps. No other country has canceled as many apps as we did. A lot of things we've done. But I'm talking of look, ये हो सकता है कि हमने कंसिडर किया और ये पब्लिक डोमेन में नहीं है. मैं मानता हूं ये. पर from a theoretical purpose and from an analytical purpose, you have to take all this into consideration. Okay? Lack of preparation. ये तो documented है. In 1962, we fought with what we did not have. Right? It is well known. But आजकल हम बात करते हैं, we will fight with what we have. इसका मतलब we are still not prepared. I see ex-chiefs saying we will fight with what we have. And इसी सिलसिले में नहीं, it is not in the context of 2020 and China. It is wherever we have started, हमारा All military people say, oh, we should fight with what we have. Why have we not gone to our leadership and said we cannot fight with what we have? If we fight with what we have, this is what the repercussion is. You know, our higher leadership has to have a rethink on some of these issues. ये हम नहीं बोल सकते हर बार कि ठीक है politically we should be nice and correct and all that. There are times we need not be correct politically, but we should be nationally correct. You see, again, poor logistics in 1962 harmed us, but good logistics saved us in 2020. The value of good logistics came out amply in 2020 जब हमने मोबिलाइज किया 2 डिवीजन को उस इलाके में और हमने पूरा विद इन 1 महीने के अंदर वी एक्चुअली पुल्ड आउट अ स्ट्रेटेजिक सरप्राइज अगेंस्ट द चाइनीज. उन्होंने ये सोचा ही नहीं कि हम उतना उनका डिप्लॉयमेंट मिरर कर देंगे 30 दिन के अंदर और हमने खड़ा कर दिया. और चाइना वाज कॉट नैपिंग इन 2020, right? But were we prepared for a war if it broke out? That's the question, right? तो अगर हम दोनों ऑपरेशंस को परखेंगे तो ये हमने कभी हमारा जो पॉलिटिकल हायरार्की और लीडरशिप को ये विस्तार में ये नहीं बताया कि भाई ये नतीजा निकलेगा, और पब्लिक में ये नहीं बताया हमने कि भाई ये नतीजा निकल सकता है किसी तरीके से. जैसे अभी मैं बात कर रहा हूं बहुत लोग ऐसे कर सकते थे और उसीलिए हमने नहीं किया क्योंकि हम चाइना के बारे में हमने एनालिसिस करना छोड़ दिया क्योंकि हम पाकिस्तान की ओर देख रहे थे हर वक्त. और ये बुरी बात भी नहीं है क्योंकि उन दिनों में पाकिस्तान का प्रॉब्लम संगीन था. और ये भी बात है कि 2000 से लेकर 2010-12 तक, इनफैक्ट टिल 2015 हम चाइना के साथ सुलह कर रहे थे. आफ्टर ऑल इट वाज ओनली इन 2003 हमने तिब्बत को रिकॉग्नाइज किया था, फॉर्मली वाजपेयी जी ने रिकॉग्नाइज किया था. और हमारा बात हो रहा था पीस, ट्रैंक्विलिटी, बीपीटीए, बॉर्डर पीस एंड ट्रैंक्विलिटी एग्रीमेंट हमने साइन किया. उन्होंने सिक्किम को रिकॉग्नाइज किया, हमने तिब्बत को रिकॉग्नाइज किया और हमने सोचा कि बाकी इश्यूज को हम सॉर्ट आउट करते जाएंगे तो बॉर्डर अपने आप सॉर्ट आउट हो जाएगा. और हमने प्रिपरेशन कम कर दिया और हमने उनसे बात किया कि भाई हम शांति रखेंगे और वहां के फोर्सेस उठा के हमने अगेंस्ट पाकिस्तान लगा दिया क्योंकि उन दिनों में पाकिस्तान वाज द बिगर प्रॉब्लम. पर ये तो हमें पता था हर वक्त कि इवेंचुअली इट विल बी चाइना व्हिच विल बी द बिगेस्ट प्रॉब्लम, राइट? तो प्रिपरेशन, नेशनल प्रिपरेशन इज इंपॉर्टेंट. अभी भी ये प्रिपरेशन नहीं है. आपका डिफेंस बजट देखिए, लास्ट डिफेंस बजट देखिए, ये उसके बारे में मैंने आलोचना भी किया है फाइनेंशियल टाइम्स में. आपने कैपेक्स के ऊपर बढ़ा दिया पर डिफेंस बजट में कम कर दिया. तो ये सब आर ऑन द कार्ड्स. लैक ऑफ इंटेलिजेंस, ये तो सबको पता है. देयर वाज अ सिवियर डिसजंक्शन बिटवीन इनएडिक्वेट intelligence and higher defense management. ISR capabilities were poor then and same now. अभी भी उतना नहीं है हमारे पास. हम जा रहे हैं यूएसए के पास कि भाई आप हमें इंटेलिजेंस दे दो, सपोर्ट. एयर एंड स्पेस कैपेबिलिटीज हैव बीन अंडर यूटिलाइज्ड ऑलवेज. हमारे पास हमारा खुद का इसरो है, अच्छा स्पेस प्रोग्राम है. आज हम बना रहे हैं डिफेंस स्पेस कैपेबिलिटीज. ये 10 साल पहले क्यों नहीं शुरू किया हमने? 1962, human capabilities have never been developed. 1962, we had very little military intelligence, led to a flawed threat assessment. and related preparedness in level and deployments. It had an obvious adverse impact on higher defense management. उस वक्त it was repeated in Ladakh. We didn't have adequate people on ground. Field level intelligence about trip present at multiple points should have been known. क्या एक डिव कमांडर या कोर कमांडर को ये नहीं पता चलेगा कि उसके सामने क्या हो रहा है या नहीं हो रहा है? 10 किलोमीटर के अंदर, 20 किलोमीटर के अंदर जब ट्रूप्स आ रहे हैं, वो कॉन्सेंट्रेट हो रहे हैं इतने तादाद में, अगर चाइना का पीएलए के ट्रूप्स आ गए तो आपको फील्ड लेवल इंटेलिजेंस नहीं है, तो योर इंटेलिजेंस सेटअप इज टू वीक. क्यों? हम ये चाइना के बारे में पढ़ते हैं नहीं जी, इसमें एकेडमिक रिगर ही नहीं है. आज के दिन भी आपके पास इतने एकेडमिक्स नहीं है या एक्सपर्ट्स नहीं है चाइना के बारे में जितने आपके पास पाकिस्तान के हैं. पाकिस्तान के बारे में हर एक इंडियन एक्सपर्ट है, उसका अपना राय है. सब जाना चाहते हैं वो गिलगिट बाल्टिस्तान को पकड़ने के लिए. पहले तो अपने पास जो है उसको तो बचाओ, ये तो सोचो. ओके, देखिए, I want to read this out. This was written by a 1962 war veteran recently in the print. And he was my predecessor as a DGRT, Lieutenant General Ganesh Shankar. This is what he wrote. And he was there in 62 in Sela. I'll read it out. It is said that a pair of good eyes can equal 2,000 soldiers. Much has been said about our intelligence failures, but we have not drawn any lessons from what intelligence accomplished for Chinese. उन्होंने क्या किया? वो 5,000 6,000 मील दूर आए और हमारे बारे में इंटेलिजेंस उन्होंने निकाला. वो कैसे निकाला? Studies have vaguely alluded to the Chinese interfering with our wireless networks. There is also mention of odd Tibetans dressed like monks who were suspected of spying. Those days, there were no satellites or no aerial photography, no drones. Yet wireless intercepts were possible, but such intercepts could not have given Chinese the information intelligence that they finally exploited. In the period 13 to now 18 November 1962, all defenses were at Sela, Dirangzong, and Bomdila. At Sela, the Chinese were in contact. Dirangzong and Bomdila were 40 to 60 kilometers in depth. I'll show you the maps later. The Chinese were navigating at night over mountain tracks in unknown enemy-held territory. It is in our territory they were doing. By 18 November, by dawn, all attacking columns had simultaneously struck at the chosen objectives, that is the Chinese. With uncanny precision, every gap and every vulnerable space in our defenses were hit. A battery withdrawing from Sela was ambushed on the 8th morning close to Dirangzong. More alarming, 4 Rajputs, while withdrawing from Dirangzong, were ambushed south of Mandala. How and when did the Chinese get these positions undetected? हमने तो इनके बारे में तो किसी ने बात ही नहीं किया. एंड मेरा मानना यह है कि आज के दिन Chinese are trying to replicate the success of that time now. How? Let me explain to you by maps. These are the maps of the Arunachal Pradesh sector. अगर आप देखोगे, ये है उनका मैप, right? This is the map. Bhutan, Tibet on top, Bumla, Tawang, Kenzemane, Tulungla, ये 3 important passes हैं. Okay, right. उन्होंने क्या किया? पहले इन्होंने 62 में they came on 3 axes. They came to Kenzemane, that is the Tagla area, Bumla and Tulungla. Okay, again, these 3 prongs continued along the Kenzemane axis, the Tagla action, everything. They also came up to Tawang. But more importantly, now I'll concentrate on the Tulungla axis. They came down from Tulungla. And where did they come down from Tulungla? From Tulungla, they came down to a place called Mago. From Mago, they came down to a place called Poshingla. From Poshingla, they came down to Sapar. And somewhere in a place called Munacamp, between Munacamp and Sapar, they put an ambush. One party came further, skirted all our defenses, came to this place at Nukmodong and put another ambush. Between these 2 ambushes, we were sorted out. And this is virtually, I have walked up to Tulungla and I have come down to a place where the 1962 is, there's a place called Jerela. I have walked down from Tulungla to Jerela. It is one of the toughest walks you can do. And ahead, after that, is even tougher. These people came self-content at that point of time over walking for about 3 to 4 days to reach Munna camp in unknown territory and put ambushes and had us. ये कैसे हो सकता है? Okay, but this is the success they have achieved. They want to replicate this. That's the point. Okay, to take it forward, they came from Tawang. They came in two prongs, जो मैंने पहले दिखाया. From Tawang, they came one prong up to Sela. Short of Sela, they split into three prongs. There are three passes on the Sela complex called Kaila, Chabrala, and Sela. Sela in the center and Chabrala. They came along all that. Then by then, the Sela defenses fell. And when all this was happening, these uh, passes, these roadblocks at Nukmodong and around say Sapar Munna camp were in place. They finished us off psychologically. What are they trying now? अगर आप बाएं देखोगे मैंने फ्यूचर करके लिखा है, ठीक है? ये फ्यूचर करके अब साइड में लिखा है. वो क्या है? They are now planning. They have put a claim or where the future is on to the right. There's a place called Sakteng Wildlife Sanctuary. The Chinese are claiming that area. Why are they claiming that area? Militarily, if you see, leave the politics out. For the past 2 years, they've been claiming that area. They can come down to a place called Tashiganzang, come to that, make a base at that Sakteng, and come and attack it and establish a roadblock again at Nukmodong or at Sapar or wherever it is. It is accessible from that side because now they know from the other side which they did in 62 they can't do. They're mirroring their effort. I wrote this the day they put the claim on Sakti. The good thing is that we have taken steps at Mandala. We have put a field firing range about which today morning only I put out video called Exercise Buland Bharat. आप उस वीडियो को देखिए. That blocks this approach completely. That China can't do this. But this is not their only thinking. They're replicating success elsewhere also. अभी देखते हैं. Okay, ये सिक्किम का एरिया है. अगर आपको याद है तो 2020 में there was one petrol clash at Nakula where one of our majors उन्होंने जाके एक चाइना वाले के बड़ा आदमी को उसको मारा और उसका दांत तोड़ दिया था. Now Nakula is next to the Giagong Plateau. गियागोंग प्लेटो और जो नकुला का रास्ता अलग है. तो क्या कर रहे थे? दे वर प्लानिंग. सी मेन रूट फ्रॉम द प्लेन्स सेवक रोड एंड सिलीगुड़ी गोज अप टू द गियागोंग प्लेटो. अगर आप देखोगे तो टू नॉर्थ सिक्किम जो मोटा रेड लाइन है. नकुला गिव्स एन ऑल्टरनेट रूट. अगर वो ऑल्टरनेट रूट में उस वक्त आके पीछे आके बैठ जाते तो दे वुड हैव कट ऑफ द गियागोंग प्लेटो कंप्लीटली. दे वर एग्जैक्टली ट्राइंग दिस. यही ट्राई कर रहे थे इन 2020. उस वक्त जिस दिन नकुला का हुआ था मैंने एक आर्टिकल भी लिखा था और जिसको देख के 2 कोर कमांडर उस वक्त के 33 कोर कमांडर और 4 कोर कमांडर जो मेरे दोस्त थे उन्होंने बोला भाई तुम सही बोल रहे हो. तो चाइनीज का एक सेट पीस पैटर्न है और इस पैटर्न को हमें नाकार करना है. मुझे फक्र है हमने नाकार कर दिया अभी तक. पर सवाल यह है कि हमने क्या सीखा है. ये 62 में जो हुआ है 2020 में जो हुआ है और आगे जो होने वाला है इसका कनेक्शन है तीनों. और चाइनीज का टैक्टिक्स उनको उनके भी दिमाग में ये है कि दे कैन हैंडल अस दिस वे. क्या ये वक्त आ गया कि इसको उल्टा करके हम उनके इलाके में जाके उनके पीछे रोड ब्लॉक लगाएं? सोचिए. पुअर फायर पावर प्लानिंग. ये वी हैड फायर पावर व्हिच वाज नॉट इवन यूटिलाइज्ड. राइट. ये भी पढ़िए. 1962 में इट वाज अ मोर ऑफ अ बैटल ऑफ इन्फेंट्री इन अरुणाचल प्रदेश. गन्स कुड नॉट बी टेकन फॉरवर्ड. मेरे को पता है क्योंकि हमारा एक बैटरी वहां नष्ट हो गया था. ये बैटरी जाके इनको पता नहीं था कहां डिप्लॉय होना था. इनको ऑपी ऑफिसर्स को पता नहीं था कहां डिप्लॉय होना था. इनके पास मैप्स नहीं थे कुछ नहीं थे. वहां जाके डिप्लॉय हो गए और मार करके आ गए. कम्युनिकेशंस नहीं थे. एयरफोर्स का हमने इस्तेमाल ही नहीं किया 2020 में। अब देखिए हमारे पास आर्टिलरी बहुत है, रेंज गन्स के रेंज बढ़ गए हैं, पर आर्टिलरी का जो है ओवर द हिल ऑब्जर्वेशन हमने डाइवर्स कर दिया कंप्लीटली। एरोपी जो हमारा एक ताकत था, वो आजकल आर्टिलरी से बिछड़ गया है। उसी तरीके से एक साल पहले 2017-18 में हमने यूएवीज व्हिच वर इंटीग्रल टू आर्टिलरी वर आल्सो टेकन अवे। So you have a long range artillery which is blind. और यूक्रेन वॉर क्या बोलता है? सेंसर टू शूटर इंटीग्रेशन, रेकी and surveillance complexes you need, and there's very little coordination I see in public domain of coordination between IAF and long range vectors of ground vectors of artillery. ये theaterization तो हो ही नहीं रहा. So we our firepower plan, हमारे पास फायर पावर की कमी नहीं है, उसका प्लानिंग जरूरत है. इसीलिए मैंने लिखा मॉडर्न आर्म फोर्सेस टॉक ऑफ अ रिकी सर्विलेंस कम्युनिकेशन इंटीग्रेशन कॉम्प्लेक्स. ये आज के दिन वो इस्तेमाल हो रहा है यूक्रेन वॉर में, और रशिया इस्तेमाल कर रहा है, और यूक्रेन भी इस्तेमाल कर रहा है ये. और यही कहानी पीएलए डॉक्ट्रिन में भी है, क्योंकि पीएलए डॉक्ट्रिन टॉक्स ऑफ सिस्टम ऑपरेशंस एंड इन्फॉर्मेटाइज्ड इंटेलिजेंटाइज्ड लोकल वॉर्स विद प्रिसिशन डिफेंस. हमारे पास कमी आर्टिलरी की नहीं है, वेपन्स की नहीं है. मेरा मानना है और मेरे को पूरा यकीन है एसडीजी आर्टिलरी, हमारे पास कमी है इंटीग्रेशन का. We need to get out of this infantry alone mindset. Whether it is there or not, I'm not very sure. But if you see, हम बोल सकते हैं कि नहीं नहीं ऑल आर्म्स बैटल वगैरह वगैरह वगैरह, पर ऑन ग्राउंड तो हो नहीं रहा. We need a truly all arms approach and theaterization. आज के दिन तो हमें ऑल आर्म्स अप्रोच ही नहीं चाहिए, हमें ऑल फोर्सेस अप्रोच चाहिए, जॉइंट अप्रोच. व्हाट आर द टैक्टिकल लेसन्स? अगर आप देखोगे लैक ऑफ ग्राउंड नॉलेज, हमें ये नहीं पता था हमारा इलाका क्या है, कहाँ जाके करना है. अगर आप जाके सब बताते हैं व्हाट इज ग्राउंड ऑफ टैक्टिकल इंपॉर्टेंस और की टेरेन फीचर क्या होता है, सब हम सब पढ़ते हैं एज मिलिट्री ऑफिसर्स. इसके बावजूद हमने नामकाचू के ब्रिजेस के ऊपर 1 2 3 4 ब्रिजेस हैं, उनके ऊपर हमने जाके डिफेंसेस तैयार किया, और दोला पोस्ट को लिया जो खड्डे में है. आप जाइए संगदार रिज के ऊपर और तागला रिज के ऊपर और जर्जांसो के ऊपर, जो उस इलाके में मैं गया हूं. मेरा बैटरी था नीलिया में, वीवर एयर मेंटेन बैटरी उन दिनों में. आप देखोगे कि वहां के जो 1962 के डिफेंसेस जो हैं वो खड्डे में है. किसने सोचा? और हम तो एक्सपीरियंस आर्मी थे भाई. वी हैड फॉट द 47-48 कैंपेन अगेंस्ट पाकिस्तान. उसके बाद हमने वी हैड फॉट बर्मा कैंपेन. ऐसी बात नहीं है कि हम एक्सपीरियंस नहीं थे. हाँ, चाइना वाले बहुत एक्सपीरियंस थे हमसे आगे, इसमें दो राय नहीं है, क्योंकि उनका तो लड़ाई में ही चलते रहे. सिविल वॉर हुआ, उसके बाद कल्चरल रिवॉल्यूशन हुआ, बहुत कुछ हुआ, कोरिया वॉर हुआ 1956 में. पर हम भी तो एक्सपीरियंस थे, इसके बावजूद हमने ऐसे निकाला. ट्रेनिंग एंड मेंटल टफनेस उन दिनों में नहीं था, अभी है, और ये स्विच हो गया है. मेरे मानना यह है कि training and mental toughness is, PLA lacks training and mental toughness. Value of roadblocks and mobility in mountains, right? Infiltration. 62 proved to us that we need all that. अभी अभी क्या है? You see that PLA has been trying for it, but it does not have the capability. Mobility. What does 2020 show to us? It shows superior mobility of the Indian Army vis-a-vis the poor mobility of PLA. PLA get confined to the valleys, which we did in 1962. And we went and sat on top of Kailash Range and Pangangsa Heights. And if we had done a pro-quid co anywhere, the effect would have been different. But that's a different story. We didn't do it for whatever reason. I will not this thing. But just think the value of mobility in mountains, infiltration, and this will pay handsome dividends. And the Chinese will try it. One of the things we should do, very importantly, is we should allow the Chinese to infiltrate and capture them, trap them. We have to think differently. And we should have the capability to go across and do what we have to do. जब तक हम ये सोच विचार हमारा बदली नहीं होगा, मुश्किल होगा. Okay. Then, of course, local reactions, right? Complacency, repose, spoiling attack. All this we need to do. Think of Yangtze, जो हमने अभी किया. Fantastic local reaction. But 2020, we were a bit complacent initially. Spoiling attacks will give tremendous advantage. And that was proved in Wolong. If you read the Battle of Wolong, we did a spoiling attack. It gave us time. It stalled PLA activity. And I think at some point of time, they said, there's no point in progressing further, and they went back. Then, of course, troop motivation. At that time, troop motivation kam tha, abhi, or troop motivation is very high. There's a switch. And in PLA, it's the other way around. In that time, they had no problems of population. There was no single child policy with them. Mao didn't bother how many people got killed. So you found this story of human waves and all that. It is not human wave. They just attacked numbers in 2-3 echelons. That was converted into human wave as if it was कोई लहर आ रहा है आपके ऊपर. नहीं, it was just echelon attacks. आज के दिन वो नहीं कर सकते. They cannot afford those casualties. Are we ready to fight a war? We're not completely ready to fight a war. Of course, no country is ever ready to fight a war, but we should have a reasonably high degree of readiness to fight a war. And that comes from preparation. Is our preparation enough? Few Rafales, one odd submarine will not make you tough. Or a holistic army. You need ammunition. अभी यूक्रेन में देखिए क्या हो रहा है. बिना एमिनेशन के कष्ट हो रहा है. रशिया को भी हो रहा है कष्ट, उनको भी हो रहा है. और कल के दिन अगर हम एक लंबे कैंपेन में चले गए तो हमारा क्या होगा? Are you ready to fight a war, a long campaign? Have you done your P's and Q's? That discussion is not there. You need to equip troops. You need to have ECC clothing. You need to have high altitude equipment. You have had so many years of CHN experience. How much have you indigenized all this equipment? How much are you still, why are you still importing some? Then, of course, logistics. We are very strong. I have no doubt about it. I'm sure the value, if you are logistically strong against China, you'll win. And if you can weaken him logistically, you'll win. You need a national security apparatus. You're not introspected. Because you are not introspected, you are underprepared. Okay. Then again, when you look at, the part of logistics, how did the Chinese manage their logistics to come right down up to Pushingla and down to, Dirang and all that? It's a wonder. And we couldn't. But now it's the other way around. So logistics is important. And the last point I have is leadership. I'll leave it open to you. Has it improved? We can debate. You can debate, has the political leadership improved? Has the Senior military leadership improved. Has the politico-military equations improved? Has politico-military fusion taken place? That is why मैंने एक वीडियो निकाला और एक आर्टिकल भी लिखा, the lessons from Ukraine war on politico-military fusion. I didn't talk of civil military fusion. I spoke on politico-military fusion. We need to have politico-military fusion, and if you do not have that, we are going to pay hell. Obviously, a lot of things have improved. I'm very proud of my prime minister who went to Leh and spoke what he spoke. I'm very proud of my defense minister. He went to Lukung and spoke what he spoke. And that monobal up kiya pura troops ko. It is unprecedented in Indian history. But that doesn't mean I'm not critical, constructively critical about our shortcomings. A set of people who are not honest to their own nation will keep their mouth shut. मैं भी बोल सकता हूँ मोदी है तो मुमकिन है, वो तो एक नारा है. अगर मोदी है तो मुमकिन है तो उसके लिए काम करना पड़ेगा हम सबको. वो हमारा देश के प्राइम मिनिस्टर है, वो जो बोलते हैं उसको साकार करना हमारा काम है. और जिस तरीके से हमारा चीफ ऑफ डिफेंस स्टाफ या आर्मी चीफ या नेवल चीफ और एयरफोर्स चीफ जो उनका आइडियाज हैं उनको साकार करना हमारा काम है. और उस काम में आलोचना करना भी और उनको बताना कि भाई ये प्रॉब्लम्स हैं, हमारा काम है. राइट. या जितने भी who are aspirants of the staff college, I wish you all the best in your exams. Do well. I hope you get through to staff college. And if you want any more assistance on any subject, I'm prepared to give. Just give me your requirement. And in any form, I can get through to you. I can even help you out in Tech B and military history and science and technology. All you have to say is, like this message came to me to analyze this event, the same thing for the next or whatever. I'm prepared, right? Because I feel that unless I give it back to all of you, it's a waste. I'm not doing enough for my own country, right? With this, I'll close. I'll take some questions, or sir, we'll see, right, what the whole thing is all about. Okay. Yeah. Vishwanathan says, sir, some old veterans say that the outcome would have been favorable had the Air Force been used. Is it true that our Air Force was missing in action then? Yes, it's true. It was not used, unfortunately. Right. With regimes like Russia, China, Iran, once they get in a conflict, there's no option for them to back down. If they back down or appears to roots, regime will lose its legitimacy and will collapse. Yes, it's a fact. That's a fact. There's no doubt about it. But at the same time, it's not as if they don't collapse, right? China had its problems. China lost a fair chunk in Korea, but Mao didn't collapse. It's not so easy that if they lose, they collapse. Take the case of Saddam Hussein. Saddam Hussein lost the first Gulf War, and the second Gulf War is still collapse. Okay, he was made to collapse. Okay, right? KU. For China, India is the bigger challenge or Taiwan? मेरा मानना ये है कि for China, the bigger challenge is India. The difficult military target objective is Taiwan. I'll tell you why. To take Taiwan, it's a complicated amphibious operation which has never been done in the history of warfare or the world since the Normandy landing and to some extent in the Falklands War. After that, there's been no major amphibious operation. And China doesn't have experience in that. Completely no experience. Right? And an amphibious operation is the most complicated operation. So it's a very tricky and a complicated operation. Right? And if China gets caught in Taiwan, long drawn operations, they're finished. India is the bigger challenge, but militarily they can get some gains out of India. Just think, agar, like I said, against India, they don't need a military victory. They need to put reputational costs on China, जो मैंने कल बताया था. What happened in 2020 is the reputational cost of India which suffered. It suffered till we did the Skylash range operations. After that, we recovered. But still, the reputational cost keeps getting repeated. They say that 20 Indian soldiers died at Galwan and 4 died at PLA, and PLA was aggressive. Reputation is the issue. And for that reputation, suppose they had succeeded at Yangtze in November when they came, our reputation would have suffered. That's the point. Okay, I'll take, yeah, Democrat. Why did Indian military fail to detect the latest incursion in Depsang and Demchok? We lack offensive means to deter PLA. See, that's why it was an intelligence failure. अगर हम आप देखोगे, we had an intelligence failure in 62. We had an intelligence failure in Kargil. We had an intelligence failure now. क्यों? Because our intelligence setup at the national level, the external intelligence agencies, the internal intelligence agencies, and the military intelligence agencies, the state agencies, the local agencies don't coordinate. I mean, this is something funny. Halaki, we have been now fighting insurgency and terrorism and proxy war for over 10, 15 years. We still have the same deficiency that we could not identify what China was doing. There's a problem with us, and we need to address it. I don't see this being addressed. Theaterization is an answer for this, but have we done that? We don't know. Yeah, it appears that Indian military commanders have given wrong inputs to their political masters in the past and also present. I don't think so. They have not given wrong inputs. It is just that our system as a whole has failed to read China. No one gives wrong inputs कि भाई the is coming that side. The inputs were never there to be given. And if you see, they were in 62, there was a plan given. It was not taken heed of. 2020, before that, we raised the mountain division. We raised a lot of things. We did a lot of things. We were better prepared. But were we optimally prepared? No. Why? And you see this Agnivir thing, which I'm deadly against. Because the Agnivir needs a rectification about which I've written. Why did you do this Agnivir without a strategic review? It can't be an economic review that you say, I will reduce and, because I'll save money. You might save money but lose your nation. What should our strategy be? Our strategy at LAC? Offensive, defensive, defensive, offensive, as per Mr. Dovell. Given our largely defensive postures, do we solidify defenses or adopt a forward policy like 1962? Look, मेरा मानना ये है कि we should have a defensive policy at this point of time with an offensive edge. Defensive, but with an offensive edge. और हमारा किले को बचाने के लिए we have to fight on the other side of the किला. What is it involved in fighting on the other side of the किला? बहुत options हैं. कौन सा option लेंगे देखी जाएगी. That is something for someone else to do. I will not talk of it. Okay. During the previous live stream, there was a notable upsurge in the chat room's traffic volume and the number of subscribers witnessed a rapid growth of 2000. Oh, thanks a lot. Let's see how it happens now. Right? I'm sure people will see it, in their own time. Those who are supposed to see it. Okay? Right. We were defeated by China because we didn't have Sam Bahadur Saab. I will not agree to it completely. We had good people and Then Manekshaw took over four core and stabilized the situation towards the end. He said no one will turn back and take your thing forward. He started reorganizing the thing. He was there. Yeah, there were other issues, so we'll not have. It's not a unitary thing that we should talk of. Okay, I'll not talk others. This thing. I'll take only new people's thing. Why the Chinese always claim territory? Why don't we claim Chinese territory and mirror their claim strategy? It's a very good question. They don't claim territory for the sake of claiming territory. Okay, they claim territory with a purpose. मैंने वो कल अगर प्रवीण द्वारा देखिए, they have claimed Depsang, Demchok with a purpose. ये आज भी मैंने बताया. They have claimed Arunachal with a purpose. Why Tibet? Why Tibet? I will explain to you as they have to protect that corridor on top. Their Eurasian rail corridor today. They have, unless they have Tibet, they cannot, control Xinjiang, right? And to control Tibet, they need Dalai Lama and the political control, because even now the temporal and political control of Tibet is with Dalai Lama. That is why we'll have problems ahead when we nominate the next Dalai Lama. However is nominated, there'll be a problem ahead. We're going to get into that. I'm wondering your background. May I know the reason for periodic table background? I would suggest a channel logo on the background or else a good gun collage. Oh no, I like this periodical table. I'm still fundamentally a technologist at the heart. Don't worry. Okay, should we not miss the rocket platoon forward post? Oh no, don't worry about all that. That is something which deployments, where rockets will go, where grenades will go, where guns will go. Leave it to the military man and we'll do it. समझने से कि सबसे बढ़िया लड़ाई आर्मेनिया आर्मेनिया अजरबैजान जीतनी जितनी अच्छी ड्रोन टेक्नोलॉजी उतनी ही जीत पकी नहीं नहीं ऐसी बात नहीं है, हल्दर जी सिर्फ ड्रोन टेक्नोलॉजी से नहीं होता ओके can you explain the agreement which bans the use of firearms along LOC and also tell us about the loopholes in that agreement which we can exploit to physically hurt, like attacking? ये तो है. We have said that we will have minimum force, no firearms, all that. So we have gone for the in-between manufactured arms like spears and clubs and all that. As per the existing agreement, we are not supposed to use firearms, right? Okay. I'll not take more questions from this. Right. China is least bothered to respect several. Yeah, I agree with you. Uh, we should not use firepower because it's escalation. You can handle the situation without firepower, nothing like it. Right? And position yourself, and then it's okay. Using firepower without thinking is escalation. Constantinople was well defended, but eventually it was a defensive mindset that led to the downfall of the Byzantine Empire. You're absolutely right. Thanks. Thanks a lot. Hmm. Then, sir, for Kargil, the R and AW said they gave intelligence and asked the Indian Army to stay out like the BSF used to do it until 9. Look, the problem with our intelligence setup is, everyone starts pointing, finger pointing and blaming each other at the end of the day. You have to read the group of ministers report to understand there was a failure. And it has been accepted by the group of ministers report and the expert committee, Kargil review committee, which gave their report to the group of ministers. And who was the head of the group of ministers, the Kargil review committee? Mr. Subramaniam. Who was Mr. Subramaniam? Dr. Jaishankar's father, one of the most reputed and respected strategists. So there's no point in second guessing what he said. Okay, lack of intelligence on ground was not there, but it was valuable in space. It seems that, yeah, I mean, you can speculate, but it was not there. KU, why India not increase atomic weapons? China needs a. Yeah, we have discuss this in a different thing. Sino Indian nuclear equations. Go to that video and see this KU. Where it's a full length video, 1 hour. We discuss this. So we need to do it. Okay. Uh, Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for this. Ganesh Pandey says, tendency of India will see and no risk, may all problem. It's not okay. It's not all maybe our bureaucracies. Well, that's a problem we have. Gagan Sidhu says, sir, any amplification on the principle of war which China followed and India didn't? Oh, well, there were a lot of things which we didn't do. Okay. And which China did right. Economy of effort, aim. What is the aim in the whole thing? We don't know. Offensive spirit, uh, firepower, mobility. So many things which we violated. I mean, that's a different thing altogether. And it'll take me a whole day. Uh, do you think at least 30 and 8 should be from armed forces? It should be. There was a thinking about 10 years back to do this, but somehow the bureaucracy hijacked it. Uh, Jayan sir, thank you so much for your absolutely unrivaled content. Oh, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Eshan. Uh, yeah, you are impeccable. Oh, fine. Yeah, we've come to the end. Okay, Abhijit Srivastav. Sir, do you think that Nepal at times will, with change in regime, collusive with China? I don't think Nepal is stuck between two big rocks. Okay, they have that problem. And Nepal has its own issues. So please see the video I have done with General Shaukin Chauhan on Nepal and Bhutan. आप उसको देखिए and you will understand the entire thing. देखिए, you see, all my videos are interconnected. हमारे जितने गन शॉट के अंदर videos हैं सब interconnected है, एक के दूसरे के साथ जुड़े हुए हैं, right? तो मैं आपको क्रॉस कनेक्शन देता रहूंगा क्योंकि जब तक कोई चीज नहीं बदली होगा मैं वो सब्जेक्ट के वापस नहीं जाऊंगा। इसीलिए मैं पीरियडिकली पुराने वीडियोस को दोबारा करता हूँ जो जिसके कंटेंट बदली नहीं है। आई पुट देम बैक इन वीडियोस आफ्टर टेकिंग आउट द क्वेश्चन आंसर्स एंड ऑल दैट, right? Maybe I'll hereafter chop them and put them across. We'll see. So that I keep the feed going. That's the early morning 8 o'clock videos which I put out, right? It's refreshing also to go through all those because then ideas bhi aate hain, right? So this is what it is for the day. Thanks a lot for attending. And I'm glad that so many people have taken the time off to come and view this session. Tomorrow we are going to talk about the Indo-US relationship and the issues because a lot of Prime Minister is going there, and this is going to be an important equation that is part of the Power Matrix series. Uh, General Ahuja, who's been dealing with the US people on many issues, he's got a lot of experience. He'll be talking with me. We'll see it. Until then, thanks a lot. Good evening and Jai Hind.